Hey guys, how's it going? I know this might be completely out of left field, but I mean, considering we just got the Dead Rising Deluxe remaster, but have you guys ever wondered what Dead Rising 5 might have looked like? I mean, I know I have. I've been hoping for a Dead Rising 5 for years, but there is footage of a pre-alpha build that was leaked online, and we're going to look at that in a little bit, but I want to go over Dead Rising 5 and the concepts that they had for that, along with some of the rumors that were going around at the time of Dead Rising 4's release. Before we do that though, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I really love reading your comments. I think it's great that you guys love this game as passionately as I do, so it's really cool to see that. Also, this might be my last Dead Rising video for a little bit. We're starting to move on into Silent Hill 2 territory, so I want to get ready for that because Silent Hill 2 comes out in a couple of weeks, so that's going to be exciting. And I'm also working on trying to get an interview with the voice of Frank in the new Dead Rising Deluxe remaster, which would be pretty cool. I've been emailing them back and forth, so hopefully we can make that happen. I'm actually really excited to talk to him, but I'll let you guys know how that goes. But again, if you guys enjoy this, don't forget to subscribe. We're going to get into a bunch of good stuff today. So let's get our tinfoil hats on and let's build up on some theories. So according to Marine7536, who originally uploaded this video on his channel, the original concept for Dead Rising 5 was for the game to be set in between Dead Rising 2 and Dead Rising 3 in a remote location in Mexico. The game was in early development before it would be eventually cancelled once Capcom was ready to get rid of Vancouver after the poor sales of Dead Rising 4. The video that was leaked online shows Chuck and Katie having to run through the jungle in Santa Catrina, and the worst part about this game, in my opinion, is that Katie has the ability to control zombies telepathically. And that's because of her exposure to the virus. Now, I'm not 100% sure if that is actually true or not. I found it on the Dead Rising 5 wiki, so, I mean, God only knows if that's true or not, but which, if you ask me, if that is true, this idea is extremely silly, and I'm so glad that they axed this from the game because it sounds like such a stupid idea. The game would have been the first to use Unreal Engine, and you get to play as both Katie and Chuck, with Chuck being the only one who can make combo weapons and Katie being able to control zombies. Both characters would be going up against the cartel, and the game would also allow you to make traps that would be fixed to doors. Now, this is a promising idea. I think that would have been really cool. I would have really loved to have seen what that could have looked like and what different traps you could have been able to do, but at least they were cooking a little bit. At least they were cooking, but it would have been cool to see this in action. They would have made this game open world, and they would create a new and improved means for traversal. And by this, I mean they would allow you to be able to mantle up different taller objects than what you normally would be able to. So yeah, there's not really much here. I mean, this is just the footage showing off the basic elements of the game, like being able to climb. That's the new traversal thing right there too. There were zip lines and stuff that you'd be able to climb around on, but the Dead Rising zombies that we're used to is completely changed in this little model. I mean, I know this is just an alpha build, but this kind of gives off such a Souls-like look. I don't know if you guys know what I mean, but that's that's what it looks like to me. But this is the only confirmed like idea that they had for Dead Rising 5. Other than that, there has been rumors that were going on for years, and this would start after the release of Dead Rising 4, because, oh man, Dead Rising 4 was not very good, but it's a good thing. I believe that, like, if they do decide to do a Dead Rising 5, I think they need a new character. I feel like all of these other characters that they have been overused to the point where, I mean, yeah, it's good to see them, but I want to see a new story with new characters. See, Nick is a great example of that because, I mean, his story may not have been executed right, but it was much different than having to play as Frank or having to play as Chuck, because I feel like all of those were just dragged out longer than it needed to be. Which, don't get me wrong, I love Frank and Chuck, but I feel like showing new characters shows a new perspective on the zombie virus. It just it shows that you don't have to be this macho badass to get through the outbreak. Like, Nick was a nice change of pace, and it was more serious than the other goofy Dead Rising games that they had, so it was nice to see that. And one of the original concepts for Dead Rising 4 was actually supposed to be more of like a The Last of Us inspired game, and unfortunately we weren't able to get that because Capcom said no, but it would have been really cool to have seen that kind of element be added into a Dead Rising game. Unfortunately, we probably will never see that, but if Dead Rising 5 does come around, it would be nice to see a change of pace like that. Maybe not drastically in that direction, but something close to that would be cool. Now, the next part I have here are some rumors that were going around after the cancellation of Dead Rising 5. And this follows a new character who goes by the name of Jack, and this game would have brought back the photography feature, the psychopaths, and the time limit. And this game would have taken place 25 years after the first game, and you play as a school teacher. And this game was supposed to completely ignore the events of Dead Rising 4, which to me sounds like a good thing already. I already like to imagine that Dead Rising 4 was just this alternate timeline, and Hank East was actually Frank West, or Hank East actually kidnapped Frank West. That's like a real theory. You guys know that? That's a real theory. But yeah, that's basically all there really was in regards to this rumored Dead Rising 5, which obviously didn't turn out to be true because we got the deluxe remaster instead. But I want to now talk about some of the theories that I came up with as to what Dead Rising 5 could focus around, because, I mean, if Capcom's willing to pay me for these ideas, I'm more than happy to share them, but alright, let's get into the theories. So the first theory that I came up with is the return of Frank West, but done correctly this time. I think the idea of bringing Frank West in as a college professor is not a bad idea, but instead of it being a pile of dog shit, the outbreak would start at the college university where he works at, where either the zombie chips are deactivated or a new strain of the virus breaks containment inside of the lab at the school itself. And this would have Frank fighting his way out of the school and into the town, where there would be gas stations and shopping plazas in the same style as Dead Rising 3. This could bring in combo weapons and combo vehicles, but in a variety of different ways, and still make it fun to go after the zombies. Also, I would like to say they should limit the map to the university, the shopping plaza, and the gas stations, nothing else. They should also only allow you to make combo vehicles inside of mechanic shops, making you have to collect different vehicles from different parts of towns. This would make it so it's not as easily accessible as it was just by going up to the bench in Dead Rising 3, or they could bring that back, whatever really works. They should also have the story focus around government funding, and especially the government funding of the study of the zombie virus at the university, or purposely deactivating the chips so that they can test out a new strain of the virus as a weapon. This would give Frank a reason to use his camera and to get a new scoop to get back into the game and put himself out of a teaching salary and back on television. So this is the second theory I came up with for this, and this would feature a new character that is in the middle of an outbreak in a small town in Maine, and it would basically fall in line with the Dead Rising movie, the Dead Rising Watchtower movie at least, with a new protagonist to lead the franchise. Let's call this new protagonist Paul Rivers. This would feature him as a police officer or a former employee of Phenotrans who has been fired for trying to expose the truth about the company for years. This causes him to go underground and try to meet with contacts to try to expose the government, and this includes old characters like Chuck Green and Frank West, and would take place immediately after the Fortune City outbreak. Eventually a new outbreak will start being caused by Phenotrans so that they can silence Paul, and Paul will have to fight to reveal the truth. The psychopaths would come back in this, the time limit, and so would the combo weapons. This is a little bit on the shorter side because I honestly, there's just so many different things that you can say about Dead Rising to make a story out of it, so I'm trying to just stick with like basic concepts of, something. I'm not going to sit here and write a manuscript for the entire story, but this is just what some of the ideas I had. So let's get to the next theory. So for Theory 3, this would follow Chuck, Green, and Katie in between Dead Rising 2 and Dead Rising 3, but this would take place in 2 different states in the US, which would make the quarantine zone a little bit bigger than the typical town. You can fast travel between locations or have an open world where you can travel via vehicle between locations. This idea was actually given to me by a viewer that watched my Dead Rising 3 video, and they either would set it up to be 3 or 4 small maps and be able to travel in between areas through fast travel or cutscenes, or have it be open world. And I think this would be a cool idea for a concept, because then it allows you to go back and discover new locations without running out of things to fill within each location. And it would keep the map on a smaller scale. I would rather the first theory, because personally that's my favorite, but I've come up with this because it makes more sense and it's more logical for the characters that we're already familiar with. Personally, I would rather they add a new character to the franchise to bring in new blood into the story. And I hope that Dead Rising continues with both remakes and new games, the same way that Resident Evil has, because it would really show that Capcom loves their old franchise and really show the fans that they love the franchise and it's going to get the love that it deserves. And that's all I really have for you guys. I just want to thank you all for watching. I am still trying to work on getting an interview with the new voice of Frank. Hopefully that happens in the future. I am in communication with both Capcom and the actor, or the actor and Capcom, one of the two. And I'm trying to make this possible. I am going to move on to a new video subject for my next video, so hopefully you guys stick around to watch that. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoyed this, please watch another video, because that's how the algorithm works. And if you enjoyed this, maybe somebody else will too. Thank you again for watching, and have a good night.